Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Plant Powered Business Strategies to Grow Your Positive Impact. I'm Brianna, and as always, joined by my co host, Johanna.
Hello.
Today, we have a very special guest. Terri Chrisman is joining us. Terri is a board certified nutritionist with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, a speaker, podcaster, and author of Fabulous Health, a simple plan to get well and stay well. As the founder of Fabulous Health, there's the book if you're watching. As the founder of Fabulous Health show podcast and fabuloushealth.net, Terri is passionate about empowering people to reclaim their health and prevent or reverse chronic disease. She combines evidence-based science with practical, real-world strategies to cut through the noise and make lasting lifestyle transformation feel achievable. Welcome, Terri. We're so excited to chat with you today.
Thanks, Brianna. It's really nice to be here. And hi, Joanna.
Hi. So good that you're here with us.
We always like to start our show by asking, why veganism? What made you go vegan in the first place?
Well, I was vegetarian for a really long time. I went vegetarian at the age of 18. I had no knowledge about nutrition whatsoever, but I was a little bit, I call chunky, and I wanted to lose weight and I didn't want to give up chocolate. So that was my reasoning, and obviously very flawed, altruistic, but flawed. And I also wanted to save the cows. I wasn't interested in eating cows and sheep and pigs and things. And so I thought I was doing the best thing for my body, the cows, the environment, the whole thing. And as I became older, I started studying a bit more science. I had a girlfriend who had been vegan for many, many years. And this is like by this time it's like the 2000s or whatever. And she was sending me hideous videos of animal torture and slaughter and all this kind of stuff. And I couldn't look at them. And I called her up on the phone. I said, listen, you just got to stop sending me this stuff because I'm not the enemy here. I'm not eating the cows and the pigs and the sheep and the fish and all that kind of stuff. It's not making me want to go vegan. It's making me not want to be your friend.
Mhm.
and and so she said, but you're not saving the cows and the chickens because you're still eating dairy and you're still eating eggs. And I said, what do you mean? Eggs and dairy are really healthy. And she said, no, they're not. And so at that time, I was doing I just started my master's in nutrition. So my undergraduate was sport and exercise science. I did a tiny weeny bit of sports nutrition, but it was all based on the guidelines. And the guidelines say eat dairy, eat eggs, eat meat. And so I didn't have any indication that veganism was better because I wasn't being told the science. And my girlfriend who was vegan, she sent me a couple of articles about dairy and eggs. And I was like, oh, and then I went down the rabbit hole of PubMed. And if you know what PubMed is, it's the search engine for scientific research. And I just went deep, deep, deep and found all the research that said that eating eggs and dairy was no good for your health and also no good for the animals. And when I realized those two things, I went vegan overnight. That was 2015. So it's interesting because people say I could never go vegan or it must be so hard or whatever. But I think once you learn the truth, if you have any moral compass, you just can't not do it. It's like, oh, I know that they're torturing cows and I know that the chickens are under so much stress and they're dying, when they're 6 weeks old and it's terrible, but I'm still going to eat them. It's like, what kind of a person are you? So I just knew that in my heart of hearts, that was the way to go. And I would never like it's funny because you hear people on the internet, oh, I used to be vegan. What? No, you didn't. Because if you're vegan, you're never going back. It's a moral standpoint. So that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's always so interesting to hear like the different journeys people have before that point, and yeah, gotta love those friends who support us in their like different ways in making the change. And I mean, yeah, I really agree with you in the sense that for me it's like I've been vegan for over 20 years and it's like a whole way of life. Like it's so
Mm.
difficult for me to imagine like in any other way to exist like as long as I have the choice. Yeah, it's so much more than a diet. Um, yeah. So the next question I'd like to know about. So we both run our own like small businesses, and a lot of our listeners as well, or are freelancers, and you also have been self-employed for a while. So could you tell us a little bit about that journey, how that came to be?
It's really hard, Johanna. It's really, really hard being self-employed, and you have to have a lot of self-belief.
Yeah.
So I originally became self-employed because I moved to the United States of America. I'm Australian. I was living in Dubai at the time before I moved here. And when I was living in Dubai, the government wouldn't let me work as a nutritionist because they have some strange rules and I didn't apply, I didn't qualify with their strange rules. I won't get into the rules, but whatever, it was a case that I was not legally allowed to work as a nutritionist. I could work as a personal trainer, and they don't pay personal trainers very much over there. So I was like, well, I'm not going to work for, peanuts. I'll just not work. And I decided that I would help people but not get paid while I was in Dubai. So I put out a notice on Facebook in the Dubai community and said, hey, I'm a personal trainer nutritionist and I'm not allowed to work, but hey, I need some friends. So, so anybody wants to come over to my house and we'll do some training and talk about nutrition, we'll do that. So I did that for 18 months and it was really just a sneaky way of getting friends, right? So I managed to get some good friends and we trained together and we talked about nutrition and then that was kind of like the impetus for starting my own business. When I came to the States, again, I wasn't allowed to work because immigration takes a really, really long time. I've lived all over the world. I've lived in Hong Kong, I've lived in London, I've lived in Sydney, all these different places. And usually you fill some forms in, they see that you're eligible, they give you a card, you can get a job. And that happened to me in Hong Kong, that happened to me in London. It was easy peasy. In the States, sorry, no, you're not working until, we put the rubber stamp on. And that rubber stamp took 2 years. So for 2 years, I was planning on how I could be a private nutritionist for people. And so I made a website and I did all, got all my ducks in a row, so to speak. And then I started working with individual clients. And I found that working with individual clients in the world of nutrition is very, very difficult. People want everything for free because remember, for 2 years I was getting ready. So I had the Facebook groups and I was going on lives and I was giving people free advice and, free handouts thinking, oh, people are going to start loving me. Have you ever heard of the know, like, and trust or
Yeah.
whatever? That doesn't work. Sorry. In my experience, it doesn't work. They know you, they like you, they get your stuff for free. And then you ask them to pay for something and they're not into it. So I found that really, really difficult. And then I thought, well, okay, I need to pivot because I'm getting really frustrated with finding clients. And the clients that I do get, half of them were awesome. So I'm never going to say nasty things about my clients because they're all awesome. But half of them did the work. So I'd say to them, okay, I'm going to get you to, start eating oats for breakfast, and then you're going to have a salad with tofu for lunch, and it's going to be awesome. And then their blood pressure would start to come down, and it would be fantastic. And then the other half of the clients, which I hate to say it, mostly men, they couldn't do it. I can't. What do you mean I have to have a salad? And I really want to have eggs and bacon for breakfast. And what do you mean I can't stop off at McDonald's on the way home? And it was really frustrating for me because my dad died of a heart attack when he was really young, 51 or 52. Again, I always say the wrong age, but it was then, and that's pretty young for somebody to die of a heart attack. So every time I had a middle-aged man in front of me who had heart disease and who wouldn't do the work, it really affected me emotionally. And I was like, and something inside of me and was saying, you know, this is a proxy for your dad. You couldn't save your dad because you didn't know anything about nutrition when he died. So fair enough. And neither did most people back then. He died in 1992, a long, long time ago, before all the science said that lifestyle had anything to do with heart attacks. And I found it too emotionally taxing. So I thought, okay, I want to help more people. I can only help one person an hour when I'm being a nutritionist. And I didn't have a full clientele. It wasn't like I had 40 clients a week. I didn't have that many people. So then I thought, well, I really, really want to get as many people as possible, help as many people as possible. I'll write the book, right? So I'll put everything I know in the book. It's a really, really low entry point. You can get this on Amazon for 25 bucks. So if you don't want to spend $25 to improve your health and help you get off medications, I don't know what you want. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
why I pivoted to writing a book. And the book has been awesome. It's going gangbusters. It's a bestseller in 4 countries under 10 categories on Amazon. I just won the other day the Bronze Award in the Global Book Awards. I'm going on TV weekly. I just came back from Austin. I was on Fox News in Austin, and I'm going to be on NBC next week, and I'm going to New York. So it's all happening, right? So it's awesome. And I feel that now the business is doing what I wanted it to do. And that is, I want to help tons and tons of people. I don't want to be frustrated with, just a few clients who say they want to change, but then don't want to do the work. So that's a very long answer to a very short question.
No, that was fabulous.
Yeah.
So interesting, the path that you've taken. And I think it's important for our listeners too to remember that entrepreneurship is such a journey, and it can shift and it can change, and you can find yourself in a place you never thought. I'm sure when you started, you didn't think you'd write a book one day, like it
Oh, I don't
it
know about that. I
became,
think it was always in me. Yeah, I've always
yeah.
wanted to
Oh,
do
that's
something
fabulous.
like
Cool.
this. Yeah. Because when you learn so much stuff at university and even outside of university, I was reading I'm standing in front of my bookcase, actually. It's low, but I'm standing in front of it and I'm seeing Fiber Fueled and the Cheese Trap and Undo It and Your Body in
Right.
Balance and the Starch Solution and the Blue Diets. All my books are right there in front of me. And when you read these books, you just think, this is awesome. I can do that. And I've got something to help people with, and I know I can do that. So, and I love writing. So, and I love being in the public eye. So, it was just a natural progression for me.
I love that. Okay, I stand corrected. I'm very glad that you found that mission and you wrote your book. That's fabulous. In thinking about the book, did you have to think a lot about the how crowded the space was and what was going to make you stand out? You just listed all those other titles. How, when you were starting to write and you were starting to picture what you wanted your book to be, did you pick your unique part of the market?
That's a great question, Brianna. Thank you. A lot of the books that are written by doctors are written by specialists.
Mhm.
So Dr. Dean Ornish he's a general practitioner, but he focuses on heart disease and he also focuses on cancer. And now he's focusing on Alzheimer's. But say, who have I got here? Dr. Will Bulshewich is a gastroenterologist. So his book is all about gut health. Yeah. Dr. Nitu Bajekal is an OBGYN. So her books are all about female reproductive health. And so I thought, you know what? There's not a book out there that takes people from the space where I'm overweight, I've got high blood pressure, I've got high cholesterol, my aunts and uncles have all got diabetes, I think it's genetic, I don't feel great, but I'm seeing all this stuff about people who can fix it. How do I what can I do? What step by step things can I physically do to make me go from where I am now to being a lot healthier? So I didn't think that there was a book out there that was basically, okay, step one, do this, step two, do that, step three, do this. And I really wanted it to be that simple for people and that's why I've got 26 chapters. I have, I think, over 400 subheadings. It's a lot. And it took me a long while to put them all in order because it's like, well, what do you need to know
Yeah.
first?
Mm.
Then once you've done that, what do you need to know next? And look, there's some chapters in the second half of the book that I wish I could have put in the first half of the book, but then the chapters in the first half of the book wouldn't have been in the first half. You know what I mean? Like, so if you can read it, if you can
Yeah.
binge read it in like a week or 2 weeks and get all the knowledge, then you kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this thing first, but I know I also have to do that thing. So I just wanted it to be a step-by-step guide
Mhm.
for people and as if they were my own client. So as if somebody came to me, this is what I would teach them how to do. But instead of them only having contact with me, say once a week for, 45 minutes or an hour,
Mhm.
anytime they need me, they just need to get this out and read the bit about whatever's bugging them.
Mhm.
And then they can fix whatever that is right at that very minute. So just say they're in the supermarket and they're like, oh, um, should I buy this, you know, plant-based cupcake or not? Is it good for me? Oh, I'll just go to not that you're going to carry the book in the supermarket, but just let's assume somebody does. You go to the bit about, or before you go to the supermarket, you read the bit about how to read the nutrition label. So when you get to the supermarket, you're like, okay, now I feel empowered and I know that I can buy the foods in the packets that are going to be good for me. Obviously, I tell people to buy foods not in packets.
Mhm.
Your fruit, your vegetables, your whole grains, your legumes, nuts and
Right.
seeds and things like that. But I wanted to empower people to make excellent decisions. And I think the book really does that for them. And there's stuff in the back. I'll see if I can show this. Can you see
Mhm.
that? No.
Yeah.
Every chapter has
Yes.
little quiz and some questions and some room for journaling. And I think that really helps people reinforce their knowledge
Awesome.
because a book is kind of useless if you read it
Mhm.
and don't take action, or if you buy it and don't read it and put it on the shelf. It looks pretty. But I wanted it to be the sort of book that if people see me at a book signing or at a conference or something like that, and they want me to sign their book, I don't want it to look like this. I'll show you what I want it to look like. Let's see if I've got,
Mhm.
okay. This is my, oh, that's not so good, but where is my favorite book? I want it to have these things in it. Yeah. This is my
Yeah.
human anatomy book. I just love
Mm.
anatomy and physiology so much. And I want it to have highlights like this. You know what I mean? Like I want it to look used. And
Yeah.
see, this is what happens when you stand in front of a bookcase. Uh, so if it's used, I know that people are paying attention and I know that they're doing the things.
Yeah.
And I drop the book. Hang on. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, well, I love it. Like going through it, I really love that it feels so interactive, and I think it's a very smart move. Like bringing the conversation back a little bit to our like listeners who like most of them have already like made the switch to like be vegan and everything and like run their own businesses. So if I had to guess, I wouldn't think that you're necessarily like introverted. You seem pretty like outspoken, and I think you mentioned that you like to be out there like talking to people. So like writing a book like this or any book, it is like for many of us, if we do it like a new way to put yourself out there, like be visible. So now I'm getting to my question. Was there something for you, like any fears that came up, or was there any resistance for like putting yourself out there or being visible in this new like way through this book? And if yes, like what helped you like break through it? Asking this, like maybe there's some wisdom you want to share with anybody else who might consider writing a book as an expert. Yeah, very long way of asking this question, but yeah.
The short answer is no. The long,
Okay.
I look, I think before I wrote the book, I felt stifled.
Hmm.
I felt like I had this
Mm.
message that needed to get out, and I wasn't being given the platform to let it get out. My Facebook group, yeah, look, it's got 1,000 people. That's not a lot of people. My YouTube channel, at the moment, it's 300 subscribers, right? But back then, it was like 40 subscribers. So I felt
Mm.
like I was actually being chained and I
Hmm.
wasn't being allowed to deliver the message that I wanted to. So, the exact opposite of your question is
Okay.
I actually am so happy now that I have the book
Oh.
because I'm getting out there. I really want to do public speaking. And I really want to stand on stage in front of 5,000 people and tell them how good veganism is and how it can save their life and how good they'll feel and give them energy and all the things. And I just felt that being stuck in my office dealing with one-on-one clients and a very small social media following was just not doing it for me. And so I'm at the point in my business now where it's like I've just finally pushed myself out of the forest, and I'm seeing the light finally. So it's the exact opposite of what your question is. But I think there are people out there who are scared of doing things like this. And unfortunately, I can't relate to them at all. I'm just so happy to be out in the light now. Yeah, that's just who I am. I've always been extroverted. My first job out of high school, I was a radio announcer for 7 years on Australia's largest youth radio network, Triple JFM. And I was in my element. I was on air every single day, minor celebrity, blah, blah. But that I just felt so good. And the other day, it was really funny. I went on TV on Fox News Austin, and they let me sit at the desk to do the interview. I sat at the desk, like as if I was a newsreader. And instantly, I sat at that desk. I felt like I was back home again. I was like, yay! You know what I mean? Like I'm in my element. So I'm really happy
Yeah,
that I'm able to get this word out to people because you both know that veganism is a very small percentage of the population. I think if you don't count the places where Buddhists live, like say India or somewhere like that, or Thailand, where lots of people are vegan. If you look at the Western world, it's like 3 or 4%, right? And that's not very many people. And even though I love all vegans and I love that 4%, I want to preach to the 96%. I want to talk
right.
to the 96% and say to them, hey, come over this side of the fence. It's awesome. The grass is greener, the water's better, everything's fabulous. And that's what I want to do. And I think having a book is my way of doing that. And that's, it's the same with people like Will Bilsewich or Neil Barnard or Dean Ornish and people like that who are writing these books. The general public are picking up on those books, yeah? And so I'm grateful to those people because I don't have the public notoriety or fame or whatever it is that they do. And so if I can coattail on their success and say, hey, I'm in the same camp as you, we're all trying to help people, I'm all for that as well.
Absolutely. And I think you did answer the question, even though it didn't resonate with you,
Yeah.
because I think through example, you showed that we all have a zone of genius. We all have somewhere we feel comfortable showing up and helping the movement, right? And so I think perhaps our listeners, if a book isn't for them, if being on the radio, a podcast, what have you, and being in the public eye isn't for them, there is a space where they can share their expertise. That they just have to find what works best for them
Mm.
and where their voice feels most authentic. Because your authenticity is just shining through. So
Oh,
that would be like the take-home message to Johanna's question of find that place where you feel authentic, like Terry does right now, sharing
yeah.
her book with us.
Absolutely. I'm in a
Um,
lot of business groups and I've paid a lot of money for training and things like that. And the people who run the training or run the groups always say, if you don't want to be out there, you don't have to. These are the methods that you can use to do it without putting your
yeah.
face on camera. You can do videos on social media without your face on camera. You can send out emails. You don't have to use your voice. You can use AI if you feel more comfortable doing that. So, for people who are not comfortable being out there, there's so many more ways now that they can share their message. And I think everybody should do it in the way that feels comfy for them. And maybe you don't need to be on TV all the time. Maybe you can do it in other ways and still get your message out there.
Awesome. Thank you. And thinking about all those ways, it can get a little overwhelming when you're an entrepreneur. There's so many options to try and things you want to do next. Burnout, is a buzzword, but it's something that entrepreneurs are likely to experience maybe a little more frequently than
Mm.
your average person, right? And so, from your six pillars of a healthy lifestyle, is there one that you think entrepreneurs are more likely to overlook and how that would affect their performance and creativity?
Stress
Stress.
reduction. Yeah, absolutely. As an entrepreneur, you are usually doing the job of five people. If I could afford it, if I was making enough money, I would hire another four people and I would delegate. And
Yeah.
then I would be able to have no stress or less stress in my day. But we all know if entrepreneurs are listening, they know what it's like. And
Hmm.
sometimes your day goes and you say to yourself, all I did today was put out fires.
Yeah.
All I did was answer emails and deal with, clients who had to reschedule or whatever, or, you know, my website broke and I had to fix it, or my email didn't go out and I had to do it manually. Like all these things take time and they always take five times longer than you want them to take. And sometimes you can think, I didn't do anything today. Funny you should ask this question, Brieanah, because yesterday I wrote in my journal, today was an awesome day because, and then I wrote down, I think, a dozen things that I got done. Because at the end of the day, I thought I didn't do too much stuff. And when I wrote down all the awesome things I did, I was like, you know what? That was a great day. I'm trying to be a speaker, public speaker. So my speaking coach says you need to spend an hour a day reaching out to people. Well, I reached out to one person and it took me an hour. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I wanted to rewrite my publicity thing, or you know what I mean? Like I just had to put some little ducks in the row before I reached
Yep.
out to them, and then other things got in the way. And instead of me saying, "Oh, that was a fail because I only reached out to one person," I said, "Well, you finished your little abstract. That was great. You loaded that video onto YouTube. That was great. You had a healthy lunch. That was great. You exercised. That was great. All the things in my day, not necessarily just worky things." And then at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? You were freaking awesome today. Instead of going, I was so overwhelmed and so stressed, I only got to reach out to one person. It's just the way you frame things. And overwhelm is a big thing because when you're overwhelmed, your blood pressure can go up. And when your blood pressure can go up, then you are at more risk of heart disease and all sorts of metabolic conditions. And you really don't want to have high blood pressure in any situation. So being able to uh, maybe structure your day a little. I'm crap at structuring my day. Excuse me for, swearing, but I'm just really bad at it. I have a to-do list. I know you're supposed to prioritize it and do the most important thing first, or the thing that's going to move the needle first, or the thing that's going to make you money first. I never do any of that. I know that's what you're supposed to do. I just
Yeah.
don't do it. And I end up being overwhelmed. But I think if you can do things like write a list, only do the things that are important on the list, and try and stay away from the urgent things because important and urgent are two different things. And then take time. And once you find your heart rate going up and you thinking, oh, this is too much, then at that point in time, you've got to do stress reduction techniques, which means you have to step away from the desk. You have to take some deep breaths. You have to think about, okay, what's really important in my business right now? Can I spend $10, 10 minutes walking around the block with my dog? Can I stop and have a cup of herbal tea? Can I get on my exercise bike for 10 minutes or walk up and down some stairs? Anything that will remove you from the stress and clear your mind, and then go back with a less, because when we're overwhelmed we don't make good decisions, right? We make stupid decisions, we half do things, we do them badly. It's a downward spiral of disaster. So removing yourself from the stress is a really good way in the moment for acute moments of overwhelm, and then that becomes a habit, right? So you recognize the overwhelm and you stop it instantly. And it gets to the point when you don't allow yourself to get so overwhelmed. You go, oh, I can feel it coming. Okay, calm. What do I need to do next? What's going to help me? Can I deal with this problem, or is it going to happen anyway and it's out of my control? So, and I think as entrepreneurs, we don't have anybody to bounce off. We don't have a desk mate next to us. Hey, let's, you know, go off for a 10-minute tea break or something and talk about what we did on the weekend just to de-stress and get it out of our system. We have to do that for ourselves. And that's quite hard when you work by yourself. But you're right. I suffer from overwhelm and I just have to say to myself, stop. Because, and my husband says this to me actually, he says, you're not on a schedule. The only schedule you have is self-imposed. And you are working. You're not down the beach fluffing around, doing nothing and saying, oh, why isn't my work getting done? You're doing the work and it's causing you stress, and that's not beneficial to anything. So he says, let's go have some lunch, let's walk the dogs, let's get out of the house, and then revisit your schedule. Have you put too much on yourself? We all put too much on ourselves. We all want it done yesterday. I had to redesign my entire website because it was easier for me to do it than it was for me to describe to somebody how to do it and then fix it when it wasn't right. So I just put a brand new website on my plate when I was fully booked with publicity and doing my, you know what I mean? So, and we all do that. We're all halfway through something and then we decide we're going to put some more stuff on our plate. That's just the life of an entrepreneur. And sometimes we need to take stock and say, chill.
Well, yeah, that's so relatable. And we talk quite a bit about storytelling in this podcast because we're both marketers and copywriters, and you're clearly a great speaker. And I'm wondering, like, have you like, or what's your relationship to storytelling, especially in like whether it's your own stories or like client success stories or some other stories, like how do you use them, or do you consciously use storytelling in your marketing, like especially to like create trust and to like yeah, like reach out to your like the people you want to like hear your message?
Well, Johanna, I think that that's my weakest point, storytelling, and I really am working on it. I think I'm a great presenter. I think I'm a great lecturer. I think I'm a great teacher. I don't particularly think I'm a great storyteller, and that is something that I am working on. I'm reading a book called Storyworthy by Matthew somebody, and it's a really good book on, he does this thing where he tells you to do homework for life, where every day you write down one or two things that happened to you. And the idea is that that is the basis for stories in the future when you're thinking of stories in the future. And also, he says it helps you have a more fulfilled life because as soon as you read the one or two sentences about what you did 3 weeks ago, all of a sudden the memory comes back. But if you didn't have that prompt and somebody said, what did you do at 12 o'clock on Wednesday 3 weeks ago? You'd be like, oh, I don't know. I have no idea. So he says that it enhances your life and it's a really good breeding ground for stories. So I'm working on it. Let's just put it that way. My storytelling usually revolves around telling stories of scientific studies. So if I want to reiterate a point, my story will be, oh, did you know that the Harvard University did this story? Or, they followed 500 men for 75 years and found that connectedness to others was their greatest predictor of longevity and happiness. So that's my story. But it's really me just quoting a scientific study because I haven't quite mastered the art of storytelling yet. So that's something I'm working on.
I love that. We all have things we're working on, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of that, what's next for you? If you could wave a magic wand, what kind of opportunities or collaborations would you love to pop into your inbox?
Oh, imagine that. I would love to be a professional speaker making real professional speaker money and flying to conferences and standing on stage and spreading. I feel like an evangelist. I really do. I feel like I'm spreading the word of veganism and health. And I really want one day to come off stage and have somebody come up to me and say, "You saved my life."
Oh,
Because
wow.
yeah, that's what I want. Because that's what I want to do. I want to save somebody's life. I want somebody to hear me speak and be so inspired that they make change and that change saves their life. That's like the ultimate for me. And one day that will happen. I'm not sure when. I mean, look, I've had a couple of really good reviews on Amazon, and a couple of people have said, the book has been transformative for them and that they've already started losing weight. And that's absolutely brilliant. And I love that kind of feedback. But there's that one, you said the best, right? That's the best. That's what
Mhm.
I want.
Yeah. Yeah. We're calling it in.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
please,
totally.
universe, bring it to me.
I mean, I can like feel that happening for you, I'm
Yeah.
sure. It's like it I really, really love your energy. Like it's clear you're made to like take on a big stage. I was wondering if you had to give like one, I don't know, like business or like well-being tip to our audiences, or like even a couple of tips that you feel like have made the biggest impact for you, like what would you wanna share with our audiences who want like a truly sustainable business and a healthy lifestyle? I know it's a big question, but yeah,
Oh,
what would you share?
you must exercise.
Mm,
We talked about overwhelm and what happens with this happened with me when I was studying too, when I went back to university. I went back to get my master's when I was 47. So I was
Wow.
working full time and I was at school, same deal, working full time and going to university. There's a lot to do. And exercise sometimes can take a back seat because you wake up, you have your coffee, you look at your inbox, and then it's all over, right? Then you're like, oh, I've got to do this. And then it starts, the cogs start moving. So I would say you must schedule exercise every day, even if it's just going for a walk, but hopefully more than that. So I have two dogs. I walk them 3 times a day. And I also have a gym. I'm standing in my gym right now, actually. You can't see it because of this silly background that I've managed to not be able to take off my Zoom. Don't know why. Um, and and I get to the gym basically 4 days a week. And I do weights and I do cardio and I do stretching and mobility exercises because you only get one body. And business can wait.
Mm.
It can wait the 45 minutes that it takes to go to the gym or the 45 minutes it takes for you to put the television on and jump around to some dance music or whatever it is that you want to do. I think do not underestimate exercise because number one, it's a stress reducer. It clears your mind. It gets your blood pumping so that you're going to be ready to make good decisions in your business. So that would be my number one thing is just don't put exercise off as being, oh, when I'll get around to it, when I finish this email, no, just schedule it in, either do it first thing in the morning or some people like to exercise after work. That's fine too. But whatever it is, don't let other things get in the way.
well,
Love that.
yeah,
I
love.
needed to hear that
Yeah,
today.
same.
Um, so as we're winding down, I'm curious where our listeners could learn more from you. We'll definitely link the book in the description so they can snag that if this has resonated with
Thank
them.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
There it is. It's called Fabulous Health, A Simple Plan to Get Well and Stay Well by me, Terri Chrisman. You can get it on Amazon. You can buy it at any bookstore, but it's not on the shelf in bookstores. You have to order it. So on my website, you'll find the ISBNs, which is the
Mm,
special library book numbers. You can ask your library if you don't want to buy it. You can ask your library to get it in for you as well, which is something I just learnt. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
want a book and it's not in the library, you just ask them for it and they get it
yeah.
for you. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So I would
Yeah.
love for people who maybe can't afford the book or even just to support me, get the library to buy it. That would be good. And the other thing is that if you live in America, and I know that's just a limited amount of people, but if you live in America, I do have signed copies of both the paperback and the hardcover. and I will send them out to you. And unfortunately, I can't send signed copies outside of the States because the postage is like 3 times the cost of the book. So it's just not
Wow.
viable for me. But having said that, if you buy the book on Amazon and I'm in your country, let me know and I'll come and sign it for you.
I love that. We're going to start spotting you in the wild.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, where's Terri, right? Where's Wally?
Yep.
Where's Terri? She's going to be at this vegan cafe at 11 o'clock. Bring your book and she'll sign it for you. I'm up for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I love it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time, Terri. This was an amazing conversation. We have so many more questions. We could keep talking to you all day, but we really appreciate all the wisdom that you shared in this episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brieanah. Thanks, Johanna.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like this was epic. And yeah, thank you everybody for listening and watching. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon again next month. Bye.
Bye.